Hello everyone, welcome back. Tonight I'm going to go kind of a little tangential to what I normally do with C# and WPF and actually look at doing some deployment stuff. Just an update for those people who watched last week's stream with XAML test. I'm a little ashamed to say, right at the end I kind of quit because I couldn't get both tests to work. It turns out they were working just fine. I just needed to do a git clean first. So, yeah, oops. Yeah, I was very confused the next day when I went to take a crack at it and everything was working. I was very, very confused for a few minutes. But tonight we're going to look at a deployment technology, I guess, installer technology called Squirrel. So, real quick, shameless self-promotion. I wrote a blog post on Squirrel a very long time ago. These things aren't dated, and I don't remember how old this is. It's at least a couple of years. It's been a little while. But I walk through kind of everything from, simple WPF application that's basically hello world, doing the new spec file, yada, 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 build stuff up, do updates, yada, 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 yada. I realize I'm yada, yada, yada-ing all the cool parts. But if you are interested in Squirrel, it is here, and the actual repo that I referenced, it's also referenced in that blog post, is here. And there's a lot of steps to it. You have to go through and make a new spec. You got to Squirrel works by wrapping your package into a NuGet package, even though it's never going to NuGet.org. It's just using that as a way of doing packaging, metadata, versioning, all of that stuff, which is great. And the Squirrel installers tend to be really, really fast. Like, they oftentimes won't display a splash screen because they get your app installed so fast, which is impressive. Like the tagline, it's like click once that works, or as I usually call it, clunk once. It is effectively what it is. For those people who may not know click once, this is Microsoft's installer technology. You've probably used it. I believe Chrome's installer, not Chrome itself, but the Chrome installer actually uses click once just to bootstrap it and get out there. And it works fairly well. It's kind of clunky, hence my name of clunk once. And it's not real tolerant of network outages. So I've used it on some projects, and specifically if you have users that are on a shaky internet connection, it can sometimes be problematic. And when it goes poorly, it's a pain to debug. It is just an absolute nightmare. But installers aren't that easy to build. If anybody's ever looked into like the installer technology Wix and written one of those things by hand, you're aware of how complicated getting an installer and all of the registrations and all of that stuff correct really is. Squirrel tries to make that as easy as possible. And to their credit, they do a pretty good job, and it's fairly well documented. However, there is a spin-off product called Cloud Squirrel that I was gonna take a look at because it looks really, really promising. So you'll note this was originally forked from Squirrel.Windows. Squirrel.Windows at one point in time had thrown up a banner saying that they were looking for new maintainers, but I think they're past that. I haven't played in their issue list in a while. But this one down here forked off of that and made a bunch of changes. So, and this is kind of where they call them out. So this continuous updates and fixes, this is largely an artifact of Squirrel.Windows hasn't gotten a lot of love. To its credit, it hasn't needed a lot of love. With the exception of one of its dependent libraries being woefully out of date, I haven't really had a lot of complaints with it. It does add a significant size to the bootstrapper, the update.exe. So beware, it is, compared to Squirrel.Windows, it's bigger. But it also does a lot more. So, to each his own. And you'll also note it does, the SDK is updated for latest and greatest stuff. They added XML comments, SDK dependencies. You'll note this one has a lot more dependencies, and this sharp compress is the one that I had commented was woefully out of date. They apparently have significantly shrunk it. I'm a little curious how they're doing it without including mono-CSIL, so I'm not entirely sure how that works. The strong name signed, yada yada yada, all kinds of cool stuff. The other thing that actually interested me the most is there's a couple comments that they're working on a 3.0 that is supposed to be cross-plat, which Squirrel and Cloud Squirrel v2 and Squirrel.Windows are Windows only. Now you don't have to use .NET apps at all. You can use this to distribute any old thing that you want, which is great. It is worth noting that it is a per user install. So if you're running like a global admin install thing, you have to jump through some extra hoops for that. And it's not easy to build. It doesn't really give you an easy option to have like a single installer that lets you pick, hey, do you want to install per user or per machine, that kind of thing. So it doesn't quite give you that. It aims to be simple, no wizardy next finish type install experience. It's a double click install done type experience is what this aims to do. So 3.0, which I don't think we're going to play with because it looks like it's still very much in the works, but it is potentially going to be a cross-plat version, which is another thing that interested me in going here. It's like, oh, I'm going to use this to deploy a WPF app, which means Windows only, so I don't actually care yet, but it is an interesting idea. The bigger thing for me is the steps that it shows here. So step 1 is get your app in a releasable state. So whatever that means, right? Do the compile, do whatever you need to do to get your app in a releasable state. For .NET apps, that's usually a .NET publish with the configuration of release into some known directory, right? Typically for a .NET app, that's how we publish. Yeah, cross-plat looks interesting. Now, I will call out, when it says cross-plat, currently what they mean is they are looking to add OS X support. And with Linux being a question mark. So just to be clear, when they say, some people hear cross-plat and they immediately assume Windows, OS X, and Linux, but in this case, it's really just OS X. Though at the same time, Linux users, they tend to be a little more happy, like being in ultra control of things and command lining all the stuff, and usually Linux users don't mind not having installers, for what it's worth. And then these two lines here, or I should say this line here isn't actually required. All this is doing is setting up an alias so they can just say squirrel, because ultimately you have to use their little CLI app to package things up. And they've eliminated or at least I should say it appears that they've eliminated the need to like spin your own new spec file and all of that, which if you read that blog post I put in, the new spec file is really just to hold the extra metadata. So you can think of authors, versions, icons, splash screen, that type of stuff. It's really just that type of stuff. And so building up an entire new spec file kind of felt like an unneeded extra bit of complexity that should have just been automated away. They appear to have automated it away with their CLI app. So this is the other thing that interests me. And then for those people who are interested, this is very similar to how Squirrel.Windows works. But if you want to also reference Cloud Squirrel as a library, you can do things with like in-app updates and that kind of thing. So if you don't do this, what will happen is the bootstrapper can still do update checks for you. So if you are an app that is outside of, that's not using as the SDK, you can still use it to like trigger updates and installs and that kind of thing. But if you want to do like in-app updates, so maybe you have something that's going to check for updates once an hour or something, great, right? It's easy to do. Worth noting, my beloved Git Kraken does use Squirrel as their deployment mechanism. I don't know if it's Cloud Squirrel or not. I think it's just Squirrel Windows. So at least on Windows, that appears to be the deployment mechanism. But kind of cool. So this is where I was planning on going. Now, one other thing that they've added here too. That's not the docs folder. Let's try a docs folder, not docs v3. And then using, I think is where it is. So they have gone to the effort of actually bundling in a GitHub update manager. So you can host files on GitHub via the API with like the releases. However, there's a couple things with this. One, GitHub will openly tell you they are not a CDN, a content delivery network. That is not their purpose in life. For small stuff, this is great, right? People download stuff off the releases page all the time. That's perfectly fine. If you get a bunch of users and you start doing like in-app update checks every hour, if you get high enough on the metrics chart that they start noticing, they might scold you a little and say, please don't use this. Like we are not a content delivery network. We're meant to host, like we can host artifacts, that's fine, but we're not your content delivery. But what I was contemplating doing is going a little bit different. So I was thinking I was going to go through and put my own web service between GitHub and my app. So the thought is, I want to take my WPF app, I want to package it up, I want to use GitHub releases as my trigger mechanism. So I've done past streams on GitHub Actions. So when a new release is created, I would like that to kick off the building and releasing of my app. I would like my own web service to be responsible for serving up requests, but the backing data store would still be GitHub. So I can do caching, I can hold on to stuff, and currently I'll have the service reach out to GitHub. Maybe I move stuff later elsewhere at a different point, but then I've got a constant delivery mechanism. And my goal is to get this service down such that I can use this for more than one app. That way, as I spin new repos, as I have new apps, I've got a simple way of doing that mechanism. And so I'm sort of picturing a simple ASP.NET Core app, something that has only a few endpoints that are responsible for responding to like the update checks and that kind of thing, that can hold on and do a little bit of caching, that can have a constant URL that I can point at, something I could wrap behind DNS or whatever. That way I can have my apps forward in the way I expect. And then if I want to move stuff around later, I can. And it's all hidden behind there. Because that's the one thing about like this GitHub Update Manager. The moment you do something crazy like rename your repo, yeah, you're broken. And that sucks. And I just like for some people, again, it's maybe not a big deal. For me, I kind of prefer to go a different route. The fact that this is a dot result makes me worried this is an asynchronous method. And this would terrify me. But we'll see. Yeah, so that's the game plan. So this is the Cloud Squirrel thing. So for anybody who's interested, I was going to powwow on my Simply Budget app. You can find other streams where I've talked about it, I've worked in it. This is a simple WPF application that I built for doing zero-sum budgeting. Its target user base is me, myself, and me. So if people don't like something about it, tough. It works. It's got 100% user base satisfaction ish. Sometimes I find bugs and I'm really unhappy with myself. In fact, there's a crashing bug that's really annoying me. See, I've even got issues logged against myself. It's horrible. But this is a simple WPF app, and you can see before I was using MSIX, which has worked okay. And there's like a download link here, but my cert is woefully expired, and it's just there's all this extra complexity, and all I want is a very simple installer. I just want to get the thing onto the computer, and building it out is actually like, this isn't bad. This is just doing a build and test. It's not actually publishing, because building out the MSIX from the command line, oh dear heavens, it's let's put it this way, it's a lot more complicated than how the Cloud Squirrel README makes it look. This looks trivial. The other stuff is hard. So what I have done is I have built out this repository here. And by built out, I mean I created a new empty repository. As you can see, it's filled with exciting stuff, which is a license, a README that's more or less empty, and a git ignore. That's the sum total of what we got. Skirday, for people who are unfamiliar, is another word for squirrel. This is my idea of being funny, for what little it's worth. And then just for kicks and giggles, I did go through and I spun up some resources in Azure. I've got an app service plan. I threw a storage account in there. I'm trying to decide if I use that for any sort of like caching of stuff. We'll see. I don't know. We might need it. I might delete it. Looked fun. Might delete later. Okay. Step one. Let's build us a little service that we can powwow with. So this is going to be a lot of going as fast as possible to do the simplest thing possible. So we're going to start there. And maybe the simplest thing is to package the app, but nah, we're going to start with this. Okay, so I want a ASP.NET Core. No, I want a web API. Yeah, we want a web API. Next. Let's see. I don't know about anyone else, but I really appreciate a stream dedicated to Azure and what would be required for setting up a simple web app. Ooh, Jared, you are in luck. Here, I will show you the part. I will show you the part really quick that I did beforehand, just because it sometimes takes a minute for Azure to spin stuff up. So once you're logged into the Azure portal, I create a resource group, give it a name, something useful. I like to group, like resource groups are meant for organization. You come in here and you do app service, and then I went down to API app. So you'll note there's a bunch of different app service thingies, and I believe, I might be wrong, but I think like web app, API app, static web app, these are all the same service with slightly different default configurations, I believe. So you come in here, you go, yeah, I'll take one of those. You set some stuff up, and then more or less the important things are picking like the runtime. In this case, I'm building a .NET 6.0 thing. I'm going to be on Linux. I pick a region that's close to me. SKU and size. Worth noting, this SKU and size, oftentimes you can get away with the free tier stuff. Bear in mind, free tier is a low SKU machine with a cap on compute per day. And if you're on, and a lot of Azure subscriptions, unless you are paying, you will have a max CPU count across your entire subscription that you are allowed to use. So for example, because this is the thing tied to my MVP MSDN, I have a cap on how many CPU cores I can use in each region. So sometimes I switch a region for no other reason other than I've already used up my CPU, my core caps. But at least that much gets you set up. Oh, because you asked to. Because you asked. Let me grab. There is a. If you run this query here, this will take you to some streams that I did on my tuna waffle project, which I do need to update again because it is a little out of date. But, and yes, we did draw an icon for a tuna waffle because it is cool. This org here has several repos in it that are a very simple ASP.NET Core API. The infrastructure is arguably overkill for what most simple projects need. This is a Kubernetes cluster, whole 9 yards. It does all the stuff. It does it in Terraform. It has GitHub Actions to do the work. It needs to be updated because it hasn't been touched since November of 2021. There's been some updates. There's some cleaner stuff. For example, .NET 6 dropped. That's a thing. Okay. So I need my this guy here. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna copy this. And so, pro tip: when I'm building these out, oh, come on, I said copy, paste. You be dumb. Because I can't spell, and I'm realizing I picked a word that's hard for me to spell. So I'm going to call it API, but then I'm going to put the solution here and do that. I think that'll put it in the right directory. Okay. I don't know if I need Docker support. I don't think I do. And I think we're going to use controllers rather than minimal APIs. Minimal APIs are cool, but I find myself looking stuff up a lot, and I don't mind the top level statements for my main method. So we'll go there, and then open API support is just for swagger. And I don't think we need auths. set up because this is going to be for installers to hit, which means they're going to be unauthenticated requests all the time. Okay. Got an app. We're just going to run it real quick. I kind of want to make sure that this thing showed up in the right folder. Get Kraken isn't showing changes, which is now immediately making me think I put things in the wrong directory. Oh, did I misspell it? Dang it. See what happens when you can't spell? Okay, we're going to copy this. See, this is why I wanted to copy and paste. So step 1, ignore everything I just did. Step 2, do it over. And we'll get rid of the one that's not spelled correctly. Because Get Kraken should have flagged me it. Okay, so create new project. Template should be on top. Yep. We're going to go there. API. Make the solution name that. All the defaults are still set. Huzzah. Create. There we go. See, now it's showing up in the right directory. Great. Files changed. There's stuff appearing. Huzzah. Okay. Let's just run it real quick and make sure it actually works. So the default controller is just a weather forecast that I believe just returns a hard-coded list, if I'm not mistaken. There's that. The controller here just does, yeah, summaries. Blah, blah. Okay, got it. Hush now, Edge. Okay, so this is just Swagger for Open API. So we didn't have to do, you'll note I haven't had to write any code yet. So this is, okay, works. It gens some stuff. Everyone's happy. Huzzah. Okay. Okay, so now let's push this up. Let's see. Default app. Push. Okay, now we want to deploy this to Azure. So step 1 would normally be go write a GitHub action. But that sounds like work. That sounds like a lot of work. Okay. A much better option is let something else write the GitHub action for me. So if we go to the app service, inside of Azure, there's this wonderful deployment center. Now, I have previously already linked my GitHub to my Azure. So if you come in here the first time, you are going to need to go through and do the sign in and grant permission and all of that jazz. So just be aware, first time through, you do have to do a little bit of work. So we're going to do that. Come on. Go and load my list of repositories. Yep. That's the one. Go find it. Thank you. That one. Find the branch. Great. Preview the file. So it's going to trigger on pushes into main. It's going to also have a manual trigger, which is what workflow dispatch is. It's going to, it has a couple jobs, which this is, I will point out, some people do this wrong, in my opinion. Your pipelines, generally you want a logical separation, emphasis on logical separation. A logical separation between the part of your pipeline that creates the artifacts and the part of your pipeline that deploys your artifacts. Those two things should be logically separated. Now, how you get there is up to you. Okay, so we can go through and just double check and see what it's doing. It's making sure that the .NET SDK is installed. Great. It does have include pre-release too, which makes me a little twitchy, but whatever. Builds with configuration release. I find it interesting that it's doing -- configuration here and -c here. That just seems weird. It is calling it my app, which we may go and rename here in a little bit, but it uploads the artifacts. Great. It's calling it .NET app. We'll probably rename that too, just so it has a cleaner name. We come down here. You will note it is going to download the artifacts from the previous job, because you'll note this is a build job here and then a deploy job after it. And you'll note the deploy job depends on the build job. So deploy always comes after build. Makes sense? Sometimes you want jobs to run in parallel. If you don't, you set up in needs and then they run one after the other, which is great. It is creating me an environment called production, which is cool. I assume it's going to create the environment. Otherwise, it's going to be real short action. Downloads the artifacts from the previous job, because jobs likely will run on different agents. So you can't assume any shared state between them. And so it'll download the artifact and then it'll deploy the stuff out. And it's going to create a whole publish profile for me, shove it into the secrets, bippity boppity booyah. We're done. So save. And see, I could have written a GitHub action, or I could let Azure write me a GitHub action. Okay, so we come here, and I assume if I do a fetch, and look at that, there's a commit. Pull. Okay, this guy's here, which is great. And then... And if anybody wants the publish profile, it exists there too. Let me see. How do I see if you're deployed out yet or not? Well, I mean, we can go here. And I think I need to double check the endpoint. I think it's like /swagger/ something. Let's see. Properties, launch settings. What is the endpoint? Oh, the root redirects, apparently. Your app is running and waiting for content. I would like it to be deployed. Do I have to do something? Oh, I know how you see it. You're not an idiot. You just go over to your actions and you check and see. Oh, it just finished running. Oh, look at that. It deployed, and then it even went to the effort of, here's your link. You're so fun, Azure. That's not right. Here. Oh, the Swagger endpoint is not going to work because it is, if I remember correctly, yeah. See, default deployment, if you're in production, you don't get Swagger, which means the only thing that's going to exist is going to be weather/get weather forecast, I believe. Let me just confirm that. But I think what that means is I need to do this URL, weather/get weather forecast. Hey, Justin Bieber. It is sudo WPF. In this case, what I mean is, oh, it is just weather forecast. We're deploying WPF apps. Huzzah. Okay, proof is in the pudding. Web API created from scratch, built, and deployed. I win. Okay, now let's go package up our WPF app. And then we'll come back to this guy. So we're going to hold on here for a minute. And I'm just going to grab this. I'm going to come over here real quick. Don't mind me. Just there's, I want to confirm I'm not about to expose secrets, because I'm really bad about that. Oh, wow. Unstage, mark all is resolved. Apparently, I was in the middle of a rebase on this repository last time I opened it. That's exciting. Okay. So, once again, for anybody who wants the link, boom. This is the WPF app we're going to package up. Again, pick any WPF app, doesn't matter. Or actually pick any app for that matter. This isn't going to be overly specific to WPF. Okay, let's learn some Cloud Squirrel. Let's Cloud Squirrel me. Cloud Squirrel me. Okay, step one, we should look at the top. So step one, install the right NuGet package. That seems to be a pretty low bar. I will install the NuGet package. Close, close, close. Okay. I should double check. I did up Q to net 6, didn't I? Good. Okay. Cloud Squirrel, blah, blah, blah. So install that, and then I'm going to check and see what NuGet packages show updates, because we may or may not want to ingest a few extra updates. I mean, while we're installing a NuGet package, we might as well install all the things, right? Because part of me doing this is I haven't had good CI/CD for this app because of the MSIX stuff, and that's bothered me. I like pushing and magically having my app show up. Like, that just makes me happy. Ooh, I don't know if I want to take that change wholesale. That one's safe. That one's safe. That one's safe. Well, let's not make our life any more complicated than it needs to. I'll take a note. Come back to it later. Okay, Cloud Squirrel. Now what? Okay, add Squirrel aware version to your manifest to indicate that your exe supports Squirrel. What if I don't want to do this? I don't think we need to do. So Squirrel.Windows, this is very much optional, and I assume it's the same here. Though maybe we probably should. We went to all the effort of doing this. So let's add this to our manifest. Do I even have a manifest? I don't even know if I have a manifest. You're going to make me remember how to add an app manifest. Okay. App manifest, and where did you want me to put it? Right inside the assembly. Okay. App manifest created, handles Squirrel events somewhere very early in your application inside of main. The other place, I don't think this thing has a custom main. It doesn't, so we're going to do it early in the process. Boom. And I'm not sure how I want to... At some point, I'll probably want to do some changes because stuff like this was all around leveraging some newer APIs. So this project needs a little bit of love, but I'll come back to it later. We'll bring these methods in. I'm just going to slap them right at the top because I don't want to think too hard, though I do want to get rid of that message box. Yeah. Trying to decide if these are actually needed. I'd be a little miffed if the bootstrapper didn't do this for me. But we're going to follow it. So, and I personally don't like desktop icons. I find them annoying. And again, the target audience for this app is me, so my preferences matter because I represent 100% of my target user base. Okay, build publisher app. Okay, we can do this. Sorry, I'm gonna just get myself into the right directory. Okay, .NET publish C release O publish, something like that maybe. We may want to whack that thing because I kind of want to kill the MSIX project. The whole point of this is to kill it. So I think rather than fighting with it, we're just going to burn it to the ground. Okay, so let's remove you from the solution. We won't delete the whole thing yet, but if I get it out of the solution, it won't compile when I run that. And then Let's start with do a build first, just to, we'll get the publishing in a moment, but let's just make sure it builds. Okay. Okay, so built, publish. Oh, I want to disable publish on some of the targets because a lot of these don't need to be published. What is the switch here? It's like is publish or something. Is packable. Let's look. There is a switch for this. Let's see. CS proj disable publish. Publish configuration disabled for CS proj. That's not what I'm looking for. .NET publish command. How to exclude project to publish from publishing from a solution. That looks exactly like what I want. Oh, and specify the project directly. Is publishable. See, I knew there was a property. I don't want this on most of my stuff. Most of you guys, I'm not. Okay, so now if I publish, I should only get the one. Shared still published. Oh, probably because it's a dependency. That'll work. Okay. Cool. So we should have a output directory called publish, and it contains all this stuff, and we're ready to go. Okay. That step done. Okay, publish your app. Create a Squirrel release using the Squirrel exe command line tool. This can be downloaded from yada yada yada. Okay, so we may do this set alias thing just to make my life a little bit easier. Now, you'll note this thing here is doing user profile.NuGet and all of that stuff. That's all well and good. Let's just go validate that. What's the easiest way to do this? Actually, we can copy this thing wholesale, and I'll just update the version number. Is that guy correct for the version? 2942. So 2940. So that's not quite right. That's a little dated. We're gonna do this. So it's worth noting, when you're using the newer CS proj, what ends up happening is inside of your user profile, you do have this .NuGet folder. This is where, when NuGet restores happen, the NuGet package gets downloaded and unzipped into this directory, and then referenced and pulled into all of your projects. So if you have 5 projects that all reference the same NuGet package, they're going to share the same download, which is highly convenient. Before, they used to all be inside the same solution directory, which is sometimes a little problematic. But by default, this is the behavior you're going to get. Okay, so now we got that. That's great. We don't need this download because we don't have a place we're going to be hosting yet. So we're just going to straight up do the squirrel pack command. I'm going to put that guy there and whoop, bring you up. So if I do, that was not the tab. Okay. Can I just do version or something and see? There. Okay, good. So that thing's working. Oh, they've got a pretty. Oh, this is pretty. Okay, the fact that -- version doesn't work makes me a little twitchy. I kind of want to look at their CLI at some point. This might be a cool one to update the system command line, or maybe I'll post an issue and ask if they're interested in it. Because this might be a fun help output to try to design, because they've got a little bit of prettiness going on here. But we could slap on some system command line with some Spectre console and make it a little pretty. Okay. Backblaze, HTTP, which that's what we'll end up using, GitHub down. So they've put in some built-in support for very specific targets where people like to host things. It's pretty cool. So this download here is only relevant because when you do the pack, if you turn on error, throw in some spell check as well. Oh, is that there too? Did I miss that? Oh yeah. That's a good catch. That's a good catch. Hold on, now I have to look. I bet you that's probably literally right in the code. Exactly. I gotta just look now. I gotta just look. Really? That's not in the code? Oh, or is GitHub? Is it not literally? I know there. One of my colleagues was pointing out the exact text match is sometimes a little problematic for substring matching. But I'm betting it is in there, and especially since I'm seeing other issues logged. But if anybody wants to go snipe that one, probably an easy one to do. Okay, I want to look real quick. Okay, what is their program CS? What are they using here? They're using mono options. Interesting. Mono options is good, and it was one of the ones that System Command Line looked at for comparison for features. Mono options is small, limited feature set, but it's fast, but it's small. And you'll note it doesn't have things like the -- help or the tab completion or all the other fun stuff that's in here. I was hoping to just see here while I'm in here. Now that it was ERRO. Interesting. I don't see it. It's not at least immediately right here. Okay. Well, I won't dig too much. I won't rabbit trail. Squirrel. Sorry. Again, my attempt at humor. Though it is also possible that I see commits going in 23 days ago and releases on June. So maybe it just has already gotten fixed. Okay. Got distracted. We are doing cloud. We want to do the pack command. Okay, so we want to do squirrel pack. And we're going to do isn't that there? Let's see. Framework net 6. I wonder if this is actually needed. Let's see. I think it might be. Something in the back of my mind is telling me that I need the VC redistributable. I don't recall why though. So we're gonna go with it. Pack ID. So this will be simply budget. Let's see. Pack version is going to be 1.0.0 because we're going to change it. Pack authors. Me. Let's see. Pack dir, dir is spelled with a D, is going to be publish. We don't have an icon and we don't have a splash image. Those are both optional in Squirrel Windows, so I'm assuming they're optional here too. Framework does not exist. Okay. So you'll note it genned up a new spec for me, which is rather convenient. To net 602. That's kind of cool. Oh, that's nice. Well, that's very nice. So it auto did the. Oh, that's very convenient. How wonderful. Okay, so removing unnecessary data, no release notes. There are one Squirrel aware apps. Binaries will be executed during install. Blah, 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 blah. Creating setup bundle. Setup bundle created inside of releases. So if I go and look here, I should have a releases folder. I've got a setup. So for people who are interested, this releases file here is one of the things that I might potentially consider caching inside of my web service. So this is when the app does an update check, what it is doing is it's actually going to make just a simple HTTP request to get this releases file. And then this is how it knows if it is expected to download a new version. So this contains the version information. I believe this is like MD5 hash for validation to make sure it hasn't been tampered with. And I don't remember what the third number is. Something. And I'm sure it's important. But as you have more and more releases, this is where the additional packages will get added to. And then more importantly, if you have Delta packages turned on, which it looks like this is by default, what it will do is it will actually generate, rather than the full package, which contains your app and all the stuff, if it's doing an update check and there's a Delta package from its current one to its next one, it can download just the Deltas and apply those, which can make the install even faster because now it doesn't have to download a whole bunch of DLLs that maybe haven't changed, right? Because even though my app may have a change, there's a lot of DLLs in here that maybe won't be changing every single release, like all of the Microsoft dot ones. Those ones may or may not change. Interesting. I should look. Why are the test platform ones being brought in? Huh. I probably got some extra references that I don't need lying around. So I should probably clean those up. Because I'm also seeing Testos get it in. A little bit of DevOps activities. Yes. Absolutely yes. So we are packaging up a WPF app. So part of this is me wanting to learn Cloud Squirrel. But we're going to package the WPF app up, and then rather than just hosting it on GitHub, the goal is to sort of host on GitHub, but put a web API in the middle to handle the update calls and that kind of thing. It's overkill, but I like it a little bit better. So far, we have built and deployed a default ASP.NET Core app all the way up and out. It's a very boring app. It does nothing interesting. It's the default project template. Default project template isn't even formatted correctly, which is disappointing. But this is going to be handling the update checks for our app. So, but we did get CI/CD already built and plugged into that too, which was kind of cool. Because Azure wrote the GitHub action for us. Okay, so let's just make sure this installer works, I guess. That's step one. Yeah, so we double click. It should perform the install and auto launch the app. And we'll see if that's what happens. Thinking. I know my app on initial startup also has to do things like create a database. Tried without the app manifest bit, and it seems to discourage it. Wants to explicitly skip the validation if you do. Ah, good to know. So one, that didn't appear to launch, but I'm also, hold on. So step one, let's make sure the thing we published actually starts. Oh, I guess I do have an icon. I forgot about that. Does the app start when I launch it? Because if this exe doesn't start, it doesn't matter what I do with Squirrel, it's just going to fail. Hello? So it looks like my app may just be crashing. That's exciting. Okay, so what is the error? Okay, so pro tip, if your app is dying on startup, you open up the event viewer and you go to Windows Logs, Application, and if you see .NET Runtime, this is probably your WPF app crashing. You take a look, because you can see application error. Hey look, simply budget exe, that's me. Could not find or load assembly Microsoft Dependency Injection Abstractions version 5.0. So it tried to launch, load up this assembly, and the one that it found was wrong. We didn't update that, did we? That is not useful. Because file version and assembly version aren't necessarily the same thing, and those are vastly, vastly different. Because the... Okay. Try not to rabbit trail. I'm trying not to rabbit trail. I really promise I am. Maybe I should just validate. Let's just validate what happens when I F5 this thing. I don't know what data I have loaded into here. So... it should all be random test data, but occasionally I mix random test data with real data, which is not good. Rabbit trail keeps it exciting. It does. We're gonna make sure the app launches. You are an oracle. This research is in my backlog. Greetings. Thank you. I appreciate it. Are you paused? What are you doing? Where's my output window? Output window. Oh, so it's doing a bunch of stuff. Okay, cool. Yeah, and it looks like a load of default data. Do not panic about the bright orange. There is a #ifdef that if you compile in debug menu, it uses the orange coloring, because I had a number of times where I accidentally confused my debug and release builds, and so I #if. There's a, here, I'll just show it to you. There's a thingy in here that if debug, yeah, so if debug, make the theme of the app orange. So big and ugly. But I have never once messed up my debug and release builds after doing this. So, problem solved. Very low tech. Make it big and ugly. So this is the basic app. It does this kind of thing. Boop, 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 boop. And it works and has stuff and does things. Again, this is built very much for me, and me. Okay, so that worked on debug. Let's validate that it works on release, because that's what we published. And then after that, we're going to validate that the you are debugging just my code, blah, blah, blah. Continue debugging. I suppose I could have just Control F5'd it too. Doesn't really matter if I attach the debugger to it. I'm really just wanting the debugger attached so that if it throws, I see it, rather than having to go and look up the exception after the fact. Adding in something like App Insights would be a great addition. I'll make sure to add that to my backlog. Ooh, new preview build of Visual Studio. I don't need it right now. Now is not the time. Midstream is not the time to install new Visual Studios. Okay. So here, look, not ugly orange. It's a prettier green. Kind of a bright, obnoxious green, but this one works for me. Okay, so that builds and launches, but the published version doesn't. So let's go and quickly take a, this looks like, let's take a quick gander here. Because I want to look at you. Ah, I know why it can't find dependency injections version 5. Because this is version 2. That'll do it. That'll do it. Okay. Let's just do a. We might just rev some updates here real quick. We're gonna pick up everything that I know is related. Let's see. So let's actually include pre-releases, and we'll do auto DI just so that I get latest on it. And then so there's nothing major in between those two versions, so that should be a fairly safe update. I think a lot of it is things like model CSL upgrades. We aren't going to grab Cloud Squirrel version 3, as exciting as that would be, but I do want to grab this guy here, because I am a little interested in how I got version 2 when the only thing referenced was version 5. Okay. So let's come back here. Under publish. Okay. Build this guy out and make sure that he launches. Okay. Come back here, publish, launch. Because I am mildly concerned that this thing, okay, now it launches. Better. Okay, so now we will do a, I'm going to blow away the previous installer, just because I'd like to be in a clean state to begin with. And it should just work. Ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum. That seems to be fine. Releases, run setup. Cross finger, launch app. Thinking. Booyah. And launch. I will note, I do have a thing that sets the version number up here, but this is based upon the MSIX stuff, so I'm not surprised this is showing local, because I think local is its fallback when it's like, oh, I'm confused. So, great. That looks to be working. Okay, so we've got all that in. Let's do a. Get cracking. Where'd you go? You're on a monitor somewhere. Which monitor you want? There. Come here. Whoop. Close Outlook before it all of a sudden does something stupid. Okay, so we've got this. Let's see. So solution is there. We remove the MSIX stuff. We tune that. App manifest. That stuff. That stuff. That stuff. That all makes sense. Okay. So we're just going to stage this for now. Adding in Cloud Squirrel. Watched your presentation on CS Proj. Didn't understand everything, but very interesting. Well, thank you, Justin Bieber. That's clown, not cloud. Let's not do that. Oh. always happy to answer questions on it. It's one of those presentations. I feel like I honestly rushed it a little, and I didn't have as much prep time on it. I keep wanting to go back and refine it because it is one of those areas of editing CS projects and doing stuff in here is incredibly powerful, and I absolutely love it. But I also don't think it's one that is well understood, so hopefully people found it interesting. But thank you for posting the link. Okay, so we got that. Now what I would like to do is I would like to bring in my GitHub action, and I want it to actually do work for me now. So GitHub, come here, please. Okay. So this is close-ish, but not quite, right? Because this will get us part of the way there. Let's separate some of the stuff. No, don't indent. Don't indent. This is YAML. You don't randomly indent. Okay, so let's go and look at the one that we created here. And let's just add in the YAML file that Azure was kind enough to create for us. GitHub, workflows. Oh, I also don't like the name of it. Okay, so because this thing is going to trigger on a couple stuff. Let's see. So this is triggering on pull request 2, which is good. We're going to add in workflow dispatch because workflow dispatch is manual trigger. So I want a button I can click to make this guy go. Let's see. Branches. Let's go to the other syntax. I kind of like that better. That is not even close, buddy. Let's see. I think it's indented like that. Nope. 2 more. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Okay. We'll do that. This guy's going to run on a Windows agent because it has to. Okay. So next things. Wait, this is pulling down net 5x. Is this still a 5x build? No, this is net 6. Why are you not on net 6y all the things? Okay. Let's see. This one's allowing pre-release. I don't think we're going to do that. Oh, and this is doing debug builds. Oh, that's bad. Whoopsie. So clearly I haven't reviewed this one too well. And then we're going to do... I don't know if it's necessary to do the restore and build separately. They're implicit. Let's not have a separate step for that. There's not a lot of overhead in multiple steps. Just a tiny bit. Okay. And then we're going to basically want both of these bits here. But we're going to want to do these conditionally. So So we only want to do these guys if we aren't a pull request. Because on pull requests, I don't want to be publishing and uploading artifacts and all of that jazz. So if... I don't remember the exact syntax. Where have I done this before? This was done on AutoMocker. Just want your if condition. Event name. See, I could go look it up, or I could just remember where I did it before. So if event name is not equal to pull request, then we'll go ahead and do this bit. Okay. And then the last thing I wanted to check was these versions. So I vaguely recall V2, V1. I think there are newer versions of both of these actions. Let's just double check. Well, at least the setup.net one, I'm fairly confident there is. So for GitHub Actions, all you have to do to look up the docs for it is you take the name of the action and slap it on the URL right after github.com. because all GitHub actions are GitHub repositories that are public, which is kind of cool. Okay, so checkout is at v3, setup.net is at v2. So we're just going to rev those. 3, 2, bippity boppity booyah. Okay. We'll do that, we'll do that, we'll do that. And then, okay, so the publish is not going to be the end all of this. We actually want to do the squirrel stuff. So name, let's do, I don't know, that's gonna look funny, but whatever. Naming can be fixed later. Boom. Okay, so I wonder if there's an easy way for me to do this without, let's go back to their docs real quick, because in an action, I may end up writing a GitHub action for Cloud Squirrel if I like this, because I don't want to have to do this path lookup stuff. Yeah, so this is the old path, this is the new path. And see, I kind of want something that's going to be a little bit more intelligent and just pull the one based upon the install version. For now, we're going to hard code it, and I'll just hard code the version. But I do not like this hard coded version, because that means as soon as I rev the NuGet package, I break. And that just feels yucky to me. I want it to not feel yucky. And this feels a little yucky-ish. Okay, so boom. Let's see. Let's see, tools, and then this we can just do roll.exe, and then we kind of want all of my options that I passed here. So I kind of just want to grab all this stuff. Let's grab all that, and it's a big, long, ugly line. And we're going with it for now. Hold on, .NET publish. env.net root. I don't want this. We're going to change this to be publish to match what we did locally. Right? And we're going to, it bothers me that these two things are not using the same switch. Okay, so squirrel.exe pack, framework, net 6, We will need to specify a version number, but that's going to come a little later too, because I want, ultimately what's going to happen is some of this stuff is going to trigger on a release, and this needs to be for 2. Nope, 2. So we need to get the version number in there. All of that goes in there. All of that goes in there. Okay. I think that's fine. Okay, so upload artifacts. This is going to be, I should look. Does this guy have an output directory? I'd really like an output directory to be specified. Because we were using the pack command, release directory, output directory for releasified packages. That looks like exactly what I want. Thank you. I don't mind it being called releases. I just want to be explicit about it so that I don't get bit later when it... we'll call it release. Okay, so we're going to have this be... boy, okay, I'm doing this about as hard as I can possibly make it. Let's see. We call this installer. Okay, so this I think works. We're gonna try it. Let's see here. What do we got here? So there's that. There's that. The NuGets. Updating action. Okay. How will you update the version number dynamically without changing the action every time since hard-coded currently? So my plan is, I'm leaving it hard-coded just to make sure everything works, but the hard-coded 1.0 is going to definitely change. What I think, and again, emphasis on think, because I've gone round and round with myself on how I like to run builds and do release versioning numbers, because version numbers are kind of like naming things. It's really hard. I think what I would like to try on this particular repository is, what I would like to do is come in here, create a release, and grab the tag from that release. And I think just by convention, what I'm going to do is, for example, if my tag is 1.0.1, I want the GitHub action to grab the name of the tag that triggered that came from this release and use that for the version number. I think. That's what I think I want. I'm not 100% confident. I've also considered things where I just reach into the assembly and pull the version number out, but I'm like, grumble. So I think that's what I want, because I don't want this thing necessarily publishing releases willy-nilly. Because I don't really, I don't have the concept of like multiple channels. That's another reason why I want to put in this web API in the middle, is it gives me the ability, if I want to have like a beta channel and a release channel, I can start to build out that logic if I've got my own service sitting in the middle. If I just point at GitHub, I can't do that. So I kind of am, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking of that long term, but I think this is where I want to go. Is the workflow I think I want is, I want to type in, my release number, some notes, and I want my GitHub action to pick up the tag from the release, which does mean likely a second action. So a second action that triggers on release creation, pulls this, grabs the artifacts, does the publish, and away we go. I think that's what I want. Not 100% confident. And apparently we're failing. So trigger on release. Yeah, that's what I think I want. Okay, and apparently I can't build. Oh, right, because I left in the no restore and then I got rid of the restore target. So that will not work. If you get rid of the .NET restore, .NET build does not work. Okay. Stage all. Because I'm pretty confident nobody forked my repo in the last 30 seconds, force push. I saw no mistake. What mistake? It's not there. It's gone. Okay, back here, back to actions. First Mountain Dew is almost gone. Don't worry, there's another one in queue. So I probably shouldn't go too terribly late tonight. I have to be up somewhat earlier than normal tomorrow. My son has a, I don't want to say doctor's appointment. He has a medical procedure that is going to keep me at the hospital for about 24 hours, which is, it's going to be a long 24 hours. Because the doctors and nurses, they do a great job taking care of the patient. My son. The adult in the room gets no help, and I will be sleeping on a very hard couch that is built for somebody about 12 inches shorter than me. So I kind of suspect that by the following morning, I am going to be somewhat exhausted, very stiff and sore, and will be coming home and taking a nap. That's my theory. But I might get some coding time in. We'll see. The internet at the hospital is horrible. The office tomorrow will be too quiet. I'm not sure how to take that, Jared. Does that mean I'm the loud one in the office? I feel like that means I'm the loud one in the office. Maybe that's why they put me in the basement. Okay, come on. Come on, please work. I would really like to see this work. Out the gate. I think that's what I want, at least. I probably could have turned off testing for this while this guy's chugging. Okay, while that's building, let's go back here and think about what this guy here actually needs to look like. So in terms of this, no means I am, because I'm always bugging you. Bugging me. Shh. Shh. Okay, so I'm thinking about what I want this web API to actually look like. So when Squirrel or Cloud Squirrel does the update check, the first thing it does is it calls out, and if we go back and look, boom, where was their update check? This. So place you host updates, and what it's going to do is it's going to use this as the base URL effectively, and then look for /releases. So that releases file that was generated here, it expects to be able to retrieve it with a simple get. So, and my thought though is I don't want this web service to be specific to one app. I want to use this for all of my apps. Like I want to build this service once and be done. So I'm thinking what I want to do is I want, host/app name, I think. So in this case, it'll be, so host will be, whatever, let's do this. Make it more obvious. DNS host, right? So DNS host. So this is going to be whatever DNS name I wrap behind this, but for now, it'll be scurrowday.azurewebsites.net or whatever, / and then I think we're going to do app name. And then I think what I want to do is that as a route. And ultimately, I think for now, what I may do is I may just 302 the call over to GitHub. So this thing is going to need to maintain some mapping between app names and where the stuff lives. Again, if I want to change that, like I start storing stuff in a storage account or similar, I can do that behind the scenes. That's great. But the endpoints have to look something like this. The following thing that's going to happen is after it downloads this releases, is if it decides that it wants to go and download packages, it's going to then call back, once again, using that base host name, looking for the items in this releases file. So it'll be, hunting for this type of thing. Are your app names generally the same as your repo naming? As that might make the mapping simpler. Ooh, that's a good question. I don't think they're exact. In this case, they are. But I don't know if I actually want to put that as a requirement. I think I like the idea of just maintaining a map. And I might go as far as to just hard code the map for now. It should be data driven at some point because I'd like to be able to add a new app without having to redeploy this service. But it's not. But for now, it's not the end of the world if I legitimately just do that link between. The other thing that's going to get a little weird. So we're also going to need something along the lines of file, right? That's going to be a thing. And I'm trying to decide if I want to do anything different because this one is going to get real generic real fast. And I'm a little scared. I almost want to do something like just prefix it with something. Just because I suspect I'm going to want to put other things on this service. And I'm a little worried about having a route that's just two variables because that's going to match like everything and that's going to suck. So I almost like something like this. I'm not sure installer is the right name. I don't really want to call it Squirrel, but maybe it actually makes sense to call it Squirrel because this is very much tied to Squirrel. Whether it be Squirrel Windows or Cloud Squirrel. Maybe we'll call it Squirrel. I mean, we've already called the service Squirrel, so I mean, having a Squirrel controller doesn't seem bad. Okay, so I think I want that endpoint. I'll go back and check my action. Oh, boo. .NET test failed. Okay, so here's how we fix this one. Okay, problem solved. Moving tests for now, because right now I just want to see I just want to get the CI/CD working. We'll get around to tests later. I do want to figure out why they failed. Oh, I can guarantee I know why they failed. Because I did a no build and did not specify a configuration. Therefore, they will end up trying to use debug, which is not this. Debug is not equal to release. We'll check that in next. Let the other one go for now. Okay, so back to, let's cue you back onto the other one. Boom. Okay, so if we go with something like this, let's build me a controller. Public class controller. Okay, we're gonna do this. And so the route name, this is just going to grab the first part of the class name and omit the controller suffix. So this will effectively give me that bit. And I think, trying to remember how to get away with this. No coalesce. No. So for people who may not know what Jared is so eloquently referring to, I'll drop a link, because I will say it is a cool framework. And I actually have done, so it's dated at this point, but I do have a stream. So if people are interested in the coalesce framework, and I will say this is very much all the information here is good, but it is. But it is slightly older. There's been a lot of updates to coalesce since then. So, but if you are interested in it, that is Grant and Andrew giving arguably the two main authors of it, giving a rundown of it and what it does. Effectively, it is a framework that builds out all of your middle tier stuff. So you write database classes, you write front end stuff, and it plumbs up the middle for you. Okay, so I think what I can do, I can do releases, and I'm trying to remember if this works. I'm trying to remember how to specify the route into here. Do I do property name? That's not it. Template, that's what I want. I want to go here like this. And I want this to be app name. I think this gets me string app name. I think this works. And we're just going to have this guy return a string for now of. Because I just want to validate that the routing works the way I expect. Oh. Thank you. That's also a very good link for if you're interested in the view one. Okay, so Squirrel app name. So if I go try it out and I do simply budget, so that got me kind of the way there. That is not. Okay, so that did not give me what I wanted. Interesting. And I wonder if it's a casing issue. Let's try that, and then I want this to be releases. I'm wondering if when you do the template, if it's not applying the name to it. Gonna shut it down for the night. Some of us have to work in the morning. Have a good night. See you, Joe. Thanks for hanging out. Okay, so that got me much closer to what I want for my URL. Let's see. Simply budget, execute. Okay, so that got me there. Okay, so now I want one more, and I want this one to be app name, file name, file name. Let's make this one return bar. Or actually, how about we do something intelligent with this and go with something like app name and file name. We'll make it be halfway reasonable. Okay, so if we relaunch that guy, let's take a look at what that gives me for a route, because that'll probably get me closer. Okay, because I also want to make sure that when I do, let's see, simply budget foo.nup execute. Okay, so that matched in here. Now if I go up here and I try this out, okay, so I'm happy that it knows the difference. I'm just surprised that it knows the difference. What happens? Yeah, see, I'm not horribly surprised here, because functionally there is no difference. So do I leave this here as an endpoint, or do I functionally just say, really what I want is if you hit squirrel /appname/file name, I'm just going to serve up the contents of that. I think that's actually what I want. I don't know if I actually care about this other endpoint. Because at the end of the day, it's just a special case of file name. I think we're gonna axe this in favor of we literally just want to serve this guy up as is. So let's move you into your own folder or own file. Oh, was it smart enough to? Oh, that's so cool. It was smart enough to bring the comments. How did it know those comments went with that? It must just blindly grab stuff above it. Oh. Points awarded. Oh, you failed again. Why you? Okay, so this is better though. User profile could not be. Oh, this is run under something's. Right. This no bueno. This no bueno. Did we do this? Because we did the set alias approach from the docs. Yeah, and you'll note they have this little bit here. Let's do a multi-step run. I think let's change this up. Okay, because let's see here. So this is going to end up being this 242, and then this will end up being this. This is a little cleaner because this is going to run under PowerShell because it's running on the Windows agent. Okay, so dating set to use alias. Boom, 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 push. Here we go. That's out the door. Okay, so when I'm gonna let that guy go powwow for a little bit. Come back over here. Actions. Let you run and have fun. Okay, so we've got our Squirrel controller. It's going to serve this up. Now, it needs to reach over to GitHub because it wants to grab the files. So for now, here's what we're going to do. This is not a great solution. Public class app map. Public string get repo. We're just going to do this for the moment. And actually, we should hard coding. Yagni. You ain't gonna need it. Okay. So we're gonna... This is arguably the simplest I can make this method. Okay. Perfect. Actually, we're gonna be slightly better. If string equals simply budget app name string comparison ignore case. Okay. Do that. Okay. That is the simplest I can make this. We're gonna mildly do it. String root repo gets app map get repo. Magic strings. I know. They're bad. But MVP, make it work, make it right, make it fast. In that order. We're going with the make it work part first. Okay. So we got that. If repo root do not found. Because I'm gonna have to change this up a little bit. I think I actually just want an I action result if I'm not mistaken. And then return found. There. That'll handle that. And then down here, we want to actually deal with going out and getting said file. And I'm realizing something. We need the latest release. This one, there was docs in here about, yeah, releases latest. Linking to releases, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But there is a example in here. Where is it? Where we want to grab. Yeah, so we're going to want to do this. Releases latest. So in our case, it's going to end up being this guy. Releases latest. Right? And that's going to take us to here. Okay, so that's fine. There aren't any releases yet. We'll need to deal with that. Hit fail again. Man, I am batting 1,000 tonight. Okay, so parse error. String has missing terminator. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? So let's see. Oh, it's probably when I moved the path out. I previously had single ticks around it. Now I don't need them. Okay. Let's see. Moving gray. Whoa. Boom. Push. Sudo make me a release. Pretty please. I really just want you to make me a release. Okay. Okay, so that will get me here, and I'm gonna make a fake release for the moment. Create new tag 0.0.0. What I'm gonna do here, create that testing show release testing. So we want to do and then we're gonna add artifacts. I'm literally just going to take the artifacts that I built locally and attach them. Because doing this part is also something I want the action to do. But I think what I'm going to have, well, yeah, because if I create the release, it'll kick off an action. The release will go live. Ooh, I wonder if I run into a small timing window problem. If the release goes live and there are no artifacts. Interesting. See, that's a reason why I may want to end up caching things. Okay. But short version, we now have a release. We now have one of these things. So if I do releases latest, right, this will get me to here. And if I do releases, so there, what is the, yeah. So if I go copy link, can I just simply do releases, download? Can I do latest here and get away with this? No. I'm gonna have to go through the API, aren't I? Okay. Oh, hang on. That worked. That's pretty cool. Okay, so if all we do is this, it works. Okay, so go back to our little bitty API. So let's see. If string equals releases, file name, string comparison. We'll do another case insensitive, though it shouldn't matter. Grab that for the moment. This will then be, this is just going to give me the base URL, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna need to tack on string, or actually let's do URI file URI. It's new URI repo root. But there's an overload here that is like URI kind. Yeah, there it is. URI kind. So I want to tell it that it is absolute. And then file URI gets URI combine. Where is it? Where's the combine method? Oh, it's new. It's on the constructor, isn't it? Yeah, base URI, relative URI. There it is. Okay. So I do file URI, and then this is going to become this bit here. I'm wondering if the fact that that's a download is going to be a problem. I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be. Return let's see, redirect. And then, right, do you not take you take a string? Of course you do. Of course you do. So all my work to put you together in nice URI objects, and you just want a bloody string. Okay, fine. Fine. Else, return redirect. It's interesting because now Squirrel's going to call back asking with a file name. And I don't really want to parse the file name, but I might have to. I might have to, because ultimately I'm going to need to know the version that they're targeting. That's interesting. We probably are going to need to parse this here. So let's see. Or let's see, file name, let's see, ends with NUPKG. We're just gonna preemptively shoot that one down. You ask for something that's not a NuGet package, we ain't serving it up. Okay, so we've got some assurances that it's halfway reasonable. Trying to think of the best way to do this without just screw it, we're gonna regex it. Regex, boom, match. Let's see, how aggressive do we want to get with this matching? I kind of think we do any character. And then let's see, version is going to be numeric, escape, numeric, numeric plus, because I want one or more digits, escape that, and you need to be at, because you're going to be picky about that little thing. Let's see, I'm going to need this. Like that. And then, and I think what I actually want is, we want to match anything hyphen dot version hyphen, and then, the input string comes first. So we're going to do file name, var match, if match success, we're going to do the needful. Actually, let's not do that. Let's do if match not success, return bad request. Do useful error, right? Because we want to give back something helpful there. Otherwise, we're going to return. Or let's build out the file URI. So this guy here is then going to become Studio didn't highlight regex syntax. Yeah, you have to get it in the @ and you have to be passing it in the right place for it to work. Okay, so this is going to be, I'm back over here. Boom. I jump here, copy link, it's going to jump over here. This is going to end up being, once we have the version, it's going to be there, releases, download, rather than latest. This will end up being version, and then slash file name, that. And then turn redirect. Thank you for figuring that out. String version gets match groups of version value. Okay, and this should be nice and safe because the match was successful. Okay. We're gonna try it, see what happens. Oh, we do that. We're gonna come back over here. Ugh. Failed again. What is your problem? Let's see. Positional parameter cannot be found that accepts squirrel. Huh? Huh? Isn't that exactly the command that I ran here? Set alias. Come back over here. Oh, is it because I didn't do that? Let's come here. Get him, Squirrel Boy. Thank you. I'm doing my best, though. PowerShell is kicking my butt. Sorry, I just want to double check that error because I'm not 100% confident what this just did wrong. Set alias. Oh, yeah, it put it all on one line. Dang nabbit. Something tells me my YAML syntax is a little off. Oh, yeah, see, that. I was going to say, because the semicolon in PowerShell is optional. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Benjamin. See, this is why I shouldn't be allowed to write PowerShell. Okay. Let's see. As all pipeline commit messages go, hating YAML. Anyone who does pipeline work, I'm pretty sure everyone has a commit that looks like that. Okay. Okay, so that's going to go again, and we're going to cross our fingers and once again hope for the best. Close. Want that one back. Close that one. Actions, go sit on the latest. Okay. So, but we were launching our app here. We're going to test it. So if we do, try it out. Simply budget releases. Execute. A million failed pipeline notifications. People that additional filters. Yeah, that sounds about right. Failed to fetch. Possible reasons. Those are all possible reasons. So maybe we should debug it and actually see why it failed. I have a strange feeling it hit the 302 and the browser said no. Yeah, possible reasons, cores. Ugh. Yuck. I don't really want to download. Like, I don't really want my service to reach over to GitHub to grab it and bring it back yet, because then I eat those bandwidth costs. Whereas if I redirect the caller, hang on. Let's just test the theory real quick. Let's see. Invoke web request. There. We turn off browser. Invoke web request. Oh, interesting. So this is the request connection was closed unexpectedly. Huh? But, huh? Ah. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So that didn't work. But doesn't that work when I put it in the browser? Oh, is it just release, not releases? Am I just stupid? Where's the file? No. Releases. That, okay, blow that away, blow that away. Is that not the 18 YAML worked? Okay. Okay, so we have a run, which means I should be able to go here and I should be able to download an installer. Yes, yes. Progress, progress, progress. Okay, so this should have an installer in it. It does. Huzzah. This be what we want. So that is, so now what we would want is a GitHub action that would gen these files on release creation and upload them to the release. That's what we want. So we've validated the GitHub action steps. I now want to trigger those on a release and pull those. I might deal with that in a minute because that's just going to be syntax of getting that to work rather than anything technical or interesting. And this surprises me a great deal. So let's go back here and look at that release because I could have sworn copy link, paste, download. I thought that's what I did before. Oh, is what I did before. Copy download link. So if we come back over here, that actually is what I want. Releases latest, so they're redirecting on top of it. Right, so if I come in here, I don't want latest here. So okay, so the issue was where I put my this is latest copy. Yeah, so that's the target URL. Invoke web request, paste. That one should trigger. Okay, so that's the issue is I copied the wrong URL. Okay. We can do this. Boom. Okay, so from the base it's going to be releases latest wait. That should be releases, latest, download. Yeah, so I'm confused now, but let's pop this one more time and we'll take another look at it, because I do want to make sure that this is correct, because it could be that CORS issue, but now that it's now that PowerShell works, I should be able to hit it. So try it out. Simply budget, releases, execute. We hit this, view, copy, paste. What did I do wrong? Ah, so when it's combining, it's dropping the repo name off of it. So I think this gets fixed by doing this. I think. I'm trying to remember the URI combining rules. Let's try this again. Try it. Okay, so let's check this again. View, copy, and then go here, paste. Well, that looks a heck of a lot better. Okay, go. I can't tell what that did, so I'm going to come down here and go with this guy here, because if I come back, I'm assuming the redirect, I assume Squirrel's just not hip to handling 302s. So let's just do that. Is that the right port number though? Yes, it is. Good. Hit the same endpoint. Let's see. Basic parsing. Okay. I think that works. I'm hoping that serves it up the way I expect, but it looks like it is a byte stream. Okay. So now if we come in here and we do not this, and we say, well, what we really want now is the file out of it, which is this guy, right? I expect to get another 200, but I expect it to have a slightly different byte pattern at the beginning. 404 not found. Okay, so let's look at why that might be the case. And hit it. Did it not even come in here? Okay. Oh, if file name ends with. Oh, that's... We gotta eliminate that check real quick. That's problematic, because we don't want to return not found in that case. We do probably want to add some checks on it, but if I put it on now, it'll break the releases callback. So we'll let that guy fire up. Then we're gonna do this guy here. Let's see. Okay, so match version 1.0.0. Does that URL look correct? Releases, download 1.0. Oh, interesting. I'm just realizing a small problem. This guy here is the release number, not the tag number. Or the release name, not the tag number. Oh, interesting. And that didn't work. Oh, probably because it's the release, the exact reason I just said is it wants it to be 0.0.0, which is the release name. So in order for this to work, I have to know which release names contain which versions. Or I have to build a rule that says time to make release number read from tag number. Yeah, that is the other thing is, or I have to make this release match the tag. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't let you rename this? I mean, so the other thing I can do, that releases file for the manifest is actually fairly trivial. I wonder, I guess we should get it working first, but I have a working theory that I could muck with this file. And I could embed, because I'm fairly confident it just takes the file name portion of that and slaps it onto the root. Which means I'm pretty confident I could hijack that. Pretty confident. Okay. So let's test this thing out then a little bit further. If we come into here, we're going to go into our app startup. Back in this, on app startup, on app run. I kind of want to just set the version. What was I doing that? Was I doing that in my main window? Yeah, so here's where it's falling back to local. If I turn all of this off, let me look and see, what is this Squirrel API give me? So I have a sinking suspicion this guy actually has something on here to like retrieve. Handle events. Oh, there's an on every run. Oh, and that's exactly what this guy's doing. This a we're gonna just do this for the moment, and we're gonna do that, and then we're going to come over here to main window. We're going to go with something along the lines of if app version is version, slap it in. Something like that. Which means in this case, I don't expect it to have anything. And it's worth noting, this version is different than the, I should not do this, I should do this in debug. This version for your Squirrel installer is separate from your apps version. So your installer version and your apps version probably should stay in sync. It's usually a recipe for confusion if they aren't. But it is worth noting that those are different things. So if you specify like the version tag in your CS proj, that's going to give you something different. Okay, so this guy ended up with nothing here. But if I come back over here and do a .NET publish, we're going to do a new build real quick. And then we're going to do a version 1.01. So you'll note now I've got the full version here. I assume it's building a Delta package. Yeah, so I've got a full 1.01 and it built a Delta package for the update, and then this releases here will contain all of that information. So if I run this, I expect it to do the update for me, or install the latest update, launch, and have the version number in place. That was remarkably trivial. I will say, Cloud Squirrel, you are impressing me. You are impressing me. That was remarkably easy to get all that bundled in. Okay, so that's in and working. I would like to add an update check to this guy. Let me go back to their docs real quick because I do want to add in the update check. So you need to do this maneuver here so that it auto updates. And maybe my controller, if I'm going to have the idea of channels, maybe I should have that part, that as part of the base URL as well. So I'm just thinking here that maybe this should actually be channel, right? We're gonna do that for the moment. We're gonna add it just for fun, just for funsies, because I think this way I'm prepped to have like an alpha beta release channel, and I think we'll just default it if unspecified, or I guess it can't be unspecified, can it? Because it's part of the route. I'll have to think about that. In this case, we're just going to hard code this guy. So let's relaunch, and I'm trying to think of the easiest way to go about doing this. Oh, I just use localhost. Duh. Yeah, so we're just going to use localhost as my update ticket. So in here, I think we're just going to do the update check here, I think. Okay, so we're going to do that maneuver there. This goes here, but it's also going to contain, let's see, simply budget slash release. I'm wondering if release production, is that better? Okay, this is an async method. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. You know what, let's do it here on loaded, I think. We'll do it here. Because at the end of the day, I probably want to do this with a prompt. Okay, so we do that. Right, that should work. Now when I fire this guy up, I expect to see a couple calls come through over here. One for the releases. Yeah, so let's... And this will be interesting because this is going to end up redirecting out to the GitHub one. Be curious to see what this does. Yeah, and they were very specific in the directions, I believe, to not end your URL with a slash, if I recall correctly. Okay. Let's see. So invalid operation is only installed... Oh, currently installed. Well, they have a currently installed version. So if mgr is installed app, then we'll do this work. Well, that's really convenient. Thank you. What else is on you? You got any other cool APIs I should know about? Let's see, app directory, app ID. Oh, interesting. I almost want to... I'm curious, because I almost want to use the app ID, URL or path, create source, app ID override. Where does that go? Because I kind of want to be able to apply it after looking at its install. It's going to be one of those chicken and the egg things. Yeah, because I kind of want to get application name to use that as part of the URL. Is there a way to update the update managers? Yeah, because I'd almost like to update this location based upon is installed app. Can I call this with URL or path? What is create source? Get URL or path for? So if it's null or white space, it's going to return null. It checks if it's a HTTP, otherwise it just does a directory source. What happens if create source returns null here? Update source here. So I kind of want to do this. I almost want to do this. So if it's installed using var remote gets new update manager. Yes, I am typing behind the thingy-mabobber, and no, I cannot see what I'm doing. Stop running. Missed. Boom. So I think I can get away with passing null here. Let's see. URL or path. There, that should disambiguate. And then this one here, it's going to do this. And then this is going to change here to be let's see, mgr app ID. So look up your app ID and then use it to make the remote calls out. I'm almost thinking I may roll my own little package that wraps up some of this stuff so that it's, because I want getting this installer stuff to be as dirt simple for all my WPF apps as possible. So I kind of want to package it up and make it pretty. Make it pretty. Okay, so if I fire this guy up, he should stop here. Because really I'm not going to do the hard restart of the app on the user. Like, that's not going to be a real thing. So it's not an installed app, but I want to make sure its app ID is... Oh, because it's not installed, it can't get an app ID. Ahaha. Okay, so let's do a new build. I think we can get away with this. Oh, I guess not. That's the bash way of doing things, isn't it? Can I get away with this? Ha ha ha. Oh, that's going to build the same version number. Dang it. Cancel, 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 cancel. 2. Boom. 1 command. That way I can just up arrow enter. And it does all the things. Then I think this helps get the little API set up. Okay, so if I go, so I should have a desktop app. Is this the right one? Open file location. I just want to make sure. Yeah, so this is the squirrely installer, unintended. So if I double click, this guy launches. I see 101. Oh, was my other one running? Oh, interesting, it didn't hit the update check. Why not? Why did you not hit the update check? Was this update check not included in the 102? It might not have been, or the 101 version. Might not have done it. I might have to manually install 102 and then gen 103. So let's install 102 first of all. Get that going. That should install 102. We should actually be able to watch if we look at this extension. Let's see. Open file location. Yeah, so 102 is in now. It's crashing. Oh, look at that. Duplicate type with name auto DI and assembly. Oh, that's interesting. That seems to imply the build did something weird on me. Got that clean. RM publish. We're gonna go up to 103 now. 102 is apparently no bueno. In retrospect, I probably should have done this with a Hello World app instead, but this is the actual app I want. So when in doubt, build something that you want. Okay, so launch 103. Okay, and I'm gonna call it now. 10 more minutes and then I'm gonna call it a night. Bad image format. Really? Why is that just now rearing its head? Really? What is your problem? Okay. Oh, I wonder. No, that shouldn't be the cause. I'm just wondering if the Delta package is messing it up. So let's do add remove programs. And if we come in here, we should be able to do here, we should be able to do an uninstall, right? I'm wondering if those Delta packages are messing me up. We're going to test that theory here. So that's gone. Interesting that that didn't trigger the removal of the shortcut. But I also may have had another install here prior. So that may or may not be a bug. We will see. Okay, so let's try this again. And we can actually downgrade this guy back to a 1 now because we are starting over because I blew away that directory. So when you blow away everything in that releases directory, it's going to end up rebuilding from that. Because it appends to this file, doesn't necessarily just blind overwrite. Okay. Now a reinstall should get me... Where's my... Let's see, properties... Nope. You're not what I want. You, properties, open file location. Okay, so that is there. Still crashing. What the heck? What did we... Duplicate type, so it's added in the type twice. Huh? Did a full clean on this. And it builds in debug just fine. Oh, I wonder if... Oh, publish is probably not doing a clean rebuild. The .NET Clean would have forced it to trigger that, wouldn't it? We're gonna manually rebuild this guy. Give me all of your stuff. Rebuild all successful. Just make sure this thing launches from Visual Studio in release mode. Okay. It does. Huzzah. Great. Okay, so now we run blow away the publish directory. I kind of want to just fire this up real quick to make sure that the publish directory version launches. Because it should. It does. Great. And then we are going to reinstall think I actually want to do add remove programs again. Blow this away. There we go. So he's gone. Flagged as dead, which isn't exactly shocking. Okay. It's interesting to me that this desktop icon doesn't appear to be dying, but okay. And then I'm going to reinstall from the releases directory. And you launch. Okay. That was weird. Thinking the clean rebuild from Visual Studio helped. Okay, so that works. When it restarted. Did it not hit my... or it either restarted or it crashed. Response code does not indicate success. Oh, lovely. So it auto dies if it gets a 404. So let's check what... Let's look at what it is using. Okay, so we should see... I'm going to fire up the app just from the desktop shortcut. We should see it come through here. So, it does a bunch. Okay. So it is going through and calling localhost, simply budget, production releases. So it's actually passing in quite a bit. I didn't realize it would pass all of this stuff as query parameters. That is interesting. I'm trying to decide if I like that or not. We could use those query parameters to do something extra. It's interesting that I see both upper and lowercase. I wonder if that's just a fallback mechanism to try to account for things that may or may not handle casing very well. That is interesting. But this should have still worked. Copy just the URL. So let's do a different tab. So we'll make you bigger. Invoke web request. Oh, this is... .404, so it's not resolving. I guess we didn't actually test this with the channel name in place, did we? Oh, does it have squirrel in there? Does not. Okay, so that's the other, so it's missing squirrel. So let's add that in real quick. Squirrel app ID channel. Let's do talk string channel. I'm just going to break this out so it's clear what that little bit is. So I can assign meaning to that string. See, I will get rid of some of my hard-coded IDs. Okay, so, and then I'm going to rebuild this. Apparently, if I don't rebuild, it doesn't do what I expect. Okay, so from here, we're gonna need to do 101, and I'll just force the install update to happen. That's one of the nice parts about this, is if something does go wrong, like you release a bug in your code, just running the newer installer fixes it, simply by the fact that the installer comes with the latest and greatest version baked with it. So this guy here, you'll note that it is no coincidence that this setup is just slightly larger than this. It's because this guy, the latest one, gets bundled into the setup exe. So if you were to just slap this guy on a thumb drive, you could sneaker net it around or whatever. So we're going to force the update to 101 here. So you saw the 101 switch out there, and then this should fire up. We are on the latest version. Something is happening. We are crashing. Let's do this. Kill that. Launch the app. Oh, on. And let's take a quick look at what it's doing. Okay, so that's better. This copy, just URL. Come over here. Web request. That is still hitting a 404. Because I should have tested this. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong on this? Let's see. Right out. The budget. Production. Releases. That hits, so that's convenient. So I did something right. Okay, so this is what it was supposed to do. And what it actually did was that. Oh, interesting. So because it's got the query parameters on there. Interesting. I wonder how I tell enet or nor additional query parameters route. How do I just want to tell it no. So what you're looking at, huh? But I don't use routing. Yeah, I want to say I don't care what the parameters are. Can I just do on my template something akin to that? Just ignore it. The literal questions and name route templates. No. Let's see. User write, compare terminal middleware. I don't really want to have to do something overly fancy. route template precedence. That's fine. That's not what I want. Route template. Ha 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 ha. So can I just do that? Or just a route name? I do that. Is that the syntax for optional? The optional parameter, only a period can precede an optional parameter. That's not quite what I'm thinking. How do I route you? How do I route you? Well, I did say I was going to wrap it up here, so maybe this is a good point, and I will figure out how to do this routing. Because I think it is fairly close. And like I said, I do want to get something put together such that there's a sample and all of that jazz. So if anyone finds this interesting and wants to check it out, I will say from my perspective, Cloud Squirrel, it's pretty nice. It seems really nice. Aside from the few kind of minor hiccups I ran into, it works as advertised. So if you're looking for an installer for your WPF app, I'd highly encourage you to take a look at it, especially if you just want to host it in GitHub. Like I said, they do have a very easy way if you want to just use the GitHub file system. I didn't try it myself, but so far their docs have been on point everywhere else. So give it a shot. Justin Bieber, everyone else, thanks for hanging out. See everyone next time.